What's up, free bitches, wherever you may be, however you may be listening, thank you for giving us some of your time. Episode 3, Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Quite an adventurous one, a whole lot of cool gunfights. You're here to talk to me about it. Is my hetero life mate, Jeremy Wolner. What's up, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, Frank. How the fuck are you doing? And we just got demonetized right there. Sorry.
Sweet.
well, we get one F-bomb and a PG-13, so that was it. I just ruined it already.
It's YouTube. It's a fucking wild, wild west anyway. But now let's get into what happened. Let's get into what happened in Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 3. The episode opens with Din Djarin, Pedro Pascal, finally arriving in the watery world of Trask with a Coleman thermos full of baby frogs. His Razor Crest ship has seen better days, and while a Mon Calamari repairman does his best to get it back into the black, Din goes off to find a hidden covert of Mandalorians. That was the interesting thing to me that I first saw. Was, they get to this planet, and of course you end up seeing the familiar face of, let's see, Admiral Akbar's people of the watery world. So he gets them to start putting his ship back together while he jumps onto a fishing vessel of some kind. This was a kind of a cool, and I talk a lot about like the color palettes and the visual tones of television shows and movies, and I thought this was a really cool tone to set for the entire episode, because you are very much in a watery world, much like we saw in the, I think it was Attack of the Clones, episode 2, whatever it was. Very watery, very blue and all that. What do you think about kind of the opening of the episode?
Well, I mean, at least it didn't really waste any time kind of just picking up where the last one left off, because, kind of left him hanging there in space, just kind of limping along, trying to find wherever this lady was trying to go. And I mean, at least she found her husband and whatever was left of her eggs that the child didn't eat, which people are still upset about. And I don't know if it's a joke or if they're actually upset. Like, they're like, oh, that's upsetting. I'm like, yeah, it's funny, it's upsetting. Or people are like legitimately upset, and I almost don't even know if it's a joke, because that's kind of just what it is. Like, hey, he's eating other little, species and shit, but as soon as as soon as he eats these eggs, man, he's the worst character that's ever existed in Star Wars. I don't know if you hate him more than Jar Jar, but it's Jesus.
Yeah, nobody cared that he ate one of the baby spiders in the last episode.
No. Yeah. I don't know. It just kind of seems like his luck just never really seems to, go his way. It's like, I know he can pay to fix his ship, and even, the dude even said, like, I don't know if I, fix your ship, but I can get it to fly. I'm like, well, hey, you win some, you lose some. I guess, he'll just have to deal with it until he finds something better.
Well, the trip that they ended up going on to help find his kinsman quickly turned into a trap when a crew of squid-faced Quarren attacked him and the child while they were heading out to sea. This is when the 3 blue-armored Mandalorians jet onto the deck to save the day. And, we see this big 3, and I'll put them up on the screen now, as I've apparently forgotten how to use Streamlabs for some reason. When the smoke finally cleared, all the Quarren in sight had been gunned down, and the child was saved from this sea monster thing, and Mandalorian is finally face-to-face with some of his own people, or has he? Now, this is the way that these 3 characters are portrayed is pretty interesting. I'm not exactly sure. I think over the course of the episode, after you watch it all, you kind of figure out who they are, but I'm still not 100% convinced that these are 100% authentic Mandalorians. I know that it kind of plays to it over the course of the episode, like there are different sects of Mandalorians, like there's different sects of religions, things like that, and stuff, but there's obviously a difference in how they exist as Mandalorians and how, Pedro Pascal exists as a Mandalorian, how his character exists as a Mandalorian. That becomes very evident immediately when they take their helmets off to make contact with him, and he freaks out, thinking that was not the way it's done. What were your thoughts, as these people are introducing themselves?
Well, see, because I was still always under the impression that, I guess, like you're saying, it is. I could, you could believe, yes, there are other, Mandalorians spread across this galaxy or this universe, whatever. That, there will be different. I guess you're right. Different little sects of the Mandalorians, but I guess saying that the way that I always thought it was I almost said it. This is the way that our Mando and I think Boba Fett. That's how it always was. I thought that was, I guess, maybe the, I don't want to say original, but maybe the I guess you'd say the purists, you know, the ones that are like, okay, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and this is our guidelines, our rules, our whatevers. So like I saw them take the helmets off, and I'm like, are you sure these guys are? I mean, I'm like, yeah, sure, you look the part, but I'm like, eh. And I like how they're just like, oh, you're one of those, and I'm just, and he's just like, excuse me. I kind of felt the same way. I'm like, I think you're the one wrong here. I mean, sure. I can go to church every Sunday and call myself a Christian, but it's like, I mean, if I don't just sit here and follow that book to a damn T, I mean, you know, it becomes a whole mess.
Yeah, because, you know, historically, different versions of the same religions have always gotten along wonderfully, haven't they? But let's talk about the people that...
because no one's ever fought wars over religion.
Yeah, never once, ever in history. Katie Sackhoff plays Bo-Katan. Mercedes Varnado, who is also known as Sasha Banks to WWE fans, she plays Casca Reeves, and Simon Cassandes plays Axe Wolves, and they, of course, all take their helmet off, and, you know, it freaks out the Mandalorian. And Din is getting ready to pretty much just gun all these people down because he thinks they're imposters. But again, they have this conversation where they realize that maybe they're just different viewpoints on all the same religion. Now, the presence of Bo-Katan seals knowledge for the audience that kind of Clone Wars is actually what she was in, not Rebels. But Sackhoff's character in Clone Wars is, I mean, obviously is a big deal in the more modern lore.
Yeah.
And but she also united the clans of the Mandalore with the help of the Darksaber, which, you know, we saw at the end of last season. And she makes it very clear that she's looking for it probably for that exact reason after they take the bridge of the ship, and she mentions it when she's trying to question one of these people that's on the bridge of the ship that they take. Now, as Bo-Katan kind of explains this stuff, Din is in fact a member of a fringe sect of religious zealots called True Mandalorians, I think is what she called them. Or actually, she called them Children of the Watch. So now Pedro Pascal's Mandalorian has kind of a label as to what sect of the Mandalorian faith or religion, if you want to refer to it as that, which I guess is kind of fitting in this context, that he belongs to this group of people called Children of the Watch. And that being unable to remove his helmet is just one of the quirks of his upbringing, and it's one of the things that sets him apart from other people, that sets these people apart, the Children of the Watch, apart from other people of their kind. Now, the meeting is obviously very tense. I mean, obviously Pedro Pascal's character is wondering if he needs to go ahead and blow all these people away or not, but Bo-Katan promises to help him find a Jedi that he's searching for, so he can try to get Baby Yoda to these people, so they can deal with him however they're going to deal with him. Now, of course, there's a catch, and all he needs to do is help commandeer an Imperial Gozanti freighter, so that Bo-Katan and company can make off with their cache of weapons inside. This is another one of the small, subtle plot points that kind of made me curious. Generally speaking, the protagonists, or the good guys, which I guess is what the Mandalorians are in this context right now, they're not necessarily after getting weapons or something like that. This is a move that is very much reminiscent of all these different movies where the bad guys who are pretending to be good guys are trying to get these weapons to keep the peace, when really all they want to do is get an advantage so they can win whatever war they seem to be fighting. That was one of the things that kind of jumped out at me. I'm still not 100% sure of the motive of these three Mandalorian warriors. What did you think at this point?
Yeah, and it may just be by their own motivations that they've got their own agenda that they're trying to do, and obviously, like, she's trying to get the Darksaber back, and which I was like, okay, yeah, I know the Empire, or I guess the remnants of the Empire, and I will say, I did say that a couple times. I'm like, the Empire's gone, God, let it go. I'm like, of course, there's gonna be these couple little, I don't know, factions of the remnants of the Empire that are sort of gonna be holding on, I guess, to, the order they used to have. But
well, it
seemed like. It's like, well, who really is the bad guy, I guess, in this case? Like, is what you're saying. I don't know. No one's ever the bad guy in the story. I guess she's just trying to... I mean, you'd rather them have it, I guess, than these guys who used to be a part of the Empire. I don't know. Maybe that's why.
It makes sense that the Empire itself is still kind of exists, because if you think about it, what we end up seeing in this most recent trilogy with Rey, Finn, and Poe is the First Order grew out of what was kind of this broken remnants of the Empire. Yeah. So it makes sense that there is still a small group of Empire-supporting people out there that will one day grow into what we would eventually see as the First Order.
Yeah, it didn't really go away, and it just kind of evolves into something else. Like, that just kind of rebrand it, and this is what we're going to... Yeah, something that big on a, the Galactic Empire. I mean, that's not something that just goes away overnight or even that many years after, because this isn't long after... I believe it's after Return of the Jedi, right? I think this is after...
Yes, this all takes place in the shortly after the events of Return of the Jedi.
And yeah, there's probably... I don't know, what, 20, 30 some years between the two?
I would imagine 20 to 30, somewhere in that range. But, one of the things that we ended up getting from this point on is that amazing shootout and storming of the whole, of this Imperial freighter. That was actually one of the coolest things that I've seen in The Mandalorian so far as action sequences are concerned. Obviously, fighting the crate monster was pretty visually pretty entertaining, but this was just a straight up gunfight, something that we're not different to seeing in the Star Wars franchise at all. But yeah, that whole gunfight where they're taking the ship and as they're walking up to the bridge, and you see in that sequence where it seems like the difference in the approach towards the situation between Din Djarin and the other Mandalorians was kind of evident. Din is kind of tentative and risk-averse. He's definitely kind of playing back a little bit and reacting more, whereas Bo-Katan and her team, they're really charging forward. They're just very boldly making these big moves until, of course, they get to that moment where they have to go down that hallway, and Din obviously makes his weird suicide charge, throwing a couple of explosives in there. Thank God for great armor. But
yeah, that Beskar is going to come in clutch. And I was like, I did say it out loud. I was like, guys, what are you worried about? They're stormtroopers. They're not going to hit shit. I don't know what you're so worried about.
Yeah, that's the most times I've seen a stormtrooper hit one target in, I think, all of Star Wars lore combined. But there's a couple. It's few far. Yeah, there was something in this scene though that kind of interested me. There was a moment where one of the other three Mandalorians puts a couple of extra rounds into a stormtrooper who's already been down just to make sure they're dead. And even Din Djarin kind of looks back, and even with his helmet on, you can kind of see this body language rather than a facial expression, but a body language of kind of shock. Like he doesn't know exactly why they did it. Kind of like it's something that's not necessarily normal. And maybe for normal human beings like you and I it is, but I don't know if it's because he's kind of gotten a little soft as he's gone down this journey of taking this Baby Yoda back to where he's got to go, or if there's seriously a fundamental difference in the way he sees things to the way that either this group of Mandalorians or just all Mandalorians see things. I'm interested to see how that will play off into the future. Did you notice any of that?
Yeah, maybe he thought, I don't know, maybe he thought it was kind of overkill. I don't know. Because, yeah, you did notice they had different kind of tactics until, like you said, he decided to be like, all right, I got this one, guys. And he fucking just kind of dove in there head first. And he does seem kind of, I mean, I like his approach because it seems like, he's a tactician. He's always thinking about, like, how he's going to do this and, like, how it should go. And he can still think on his feet of how to things, and it kind of reminds me of like the first episode, like when he was trying to get the child in the first place from that other bounty hunter robot, and I mean how he just kind of played him and kind of the tables. Like you always kind of feel like he's got a control on it in some way. He's always thinking about options A through fucking Z, and these guys just kind of seemed more gung ho, just kind of take it as fast as you can, which isn't a bad tactic. I mean you kind of take them by surprise, which point was. So
yeah, Din Djarin is usually playing.
Either could work.
Yeah, Din Djarin is usually playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. I think that's pretty clear most of the time. But that's
they're going there, king me.
Yeah, but again, that's one of the things that I think is a marked difference between him and these other three Mandalorian warriors that we end up finding in this episode is that there is there is some serious differences in the way they see what they do and how they go about things. And I'm wondering if I would imagine we're going to see these three again at some point again in season 3, maybe even farther on into other seasons. But it's going to be interesting to see how that plays off in their relationships as they move forward. But yeah, obviously, once they end up taking the bridge of this Imperial freighter, Bo-Katan learns that Moff Gideon, played by one of my favorite actors, Giancarlo Esposito, he has the Darksaber. She actually asks if he has the Darksaber. And I know that, you know, a lot of people that have watched, like, things like, Rebels and things like that, and what's the thing I just said that she was on? Let me look at it again real quick. Clone Wars, that was it. That's actually what Bo-Katan uses to reunite the Mandalorian tribes or something like that, is this Darksaber. So obviously they're going to kind of play that storyline out a little bit over the course of this. Yeah, it's actually very wicked looking. Yeah. When I first saw it at the end of last season, I was like, wow, one of those.
I was going to say, if you've never actually, I mean, because I haven't seen all of Clone Wars, but like I knew about the Darksaber and I'd always seen it, and I thought, like, it's a unique one of its kind. I'm like, holy crap, it has a black core. It's like this deep black core, and it's got the white trim around it. I can't remember what that's called. I know each saber, like, there's different core colors, and it's the only one that is like flat, not like a round, like dowel rod shaped blade, and it doesn't have just a point on it. It's got like a blade shape, and the handle is a little different, kind of reminiscent of like a little short samurai sword. Not so damn cool. And other than it looks fucking cool, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that Moff Gideon is a Jedi in any of the other literature, is he? He's not Force sensitive or anything?
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't quite know, and it's been a while since I've seen it. But I mean, I guess I'm gonna do the segue this time. I mean, the thing that I was excited about, because I did know they name dropped somebody that we're all hopefully familiar with. That got me all kinds of excited. Not just because of who plays it, but you know, I was excited.
Yeah, but so obviously she's wanting to get Moff Gideon. You see him on the screen right now. Obviously he's going to come back into it at some point. But there are some things before we get to that last big name drop that I wanted to point out. Is there is at one point clearly this objection from Din Djarin to the way that these other three Mandalorian warriors do things. And again, I'm kind of curious to see how that all plays out. Now, another thing that's interesting, and it goes back to something we were talking about earlier, is the Imperials make mention of a hidden fleet of ships, while Bo-Katan hints that there are at least a division of Mandalorians on her side. I think the fleet of hidden ships is probably more of an Easter egg to what we'd eventually see turn into the First Order. I think it just kind of makes sense that they would mention that. It would have to be something like that for us to even have these last three movies, so it makes sense. I'm interested in this division. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, because yes, for how long could you imagine Palpatine had been pulling those strings to get that many ships? I mean, that was a sweet visual in the last movie. It was like you see all those ships just rising up like against the sky, the lightning shit, and you just see their silhouettes, and I'm like, God damn, that's terrifying as hell.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, where did you even find all these? And I mean, I guess in that 30-some plus years, yeah, that makes sense. That's where that part came from.
No doubt. Now, the biggest name drop, though, that you were talking about is once he helps them take that vessel, obviously they have to pay up and give him some information that he needs. And what they do is they send him on to the forest planet of Corvus, to the city of Caladan, to find a living Jedi named Ashoka Tano. Ashoka Tano is rumored to be probably in the next episode, and is probably being played by Rosario Dawson, who I absolutely adore.
I hope so.
Yeah, we're getting deeper into the surrounding lore of Star Wars in this series, which I find really fun. Because one of my knocks on the 9 films that have come out is they all tend to happen in this little bit of a bubble. Going out and expanding into these larger universes. I mean, you've already kind of gone... it was obviously a great idea to go explore some of the stuff that happens in the Mandalorian world. Just kind of like that existence of the universe. That's obviously a home run. Going and doing some other things outside of that bubble, doing like Rogue One worked out pretty well. I think Rogue One was a very good movie.
Yeah.
Solo was okay, but it still kind of was just a prequel of one of the characters that exists in that bubble, of Han Solo, of course. But... stepping out and seeing some of these other things, bringing in some of these other stories that are in in the Star Wars Legends stuff now and that aren't really canon, but kind of pulling little elements of that into this canonical universe and giving them their own like good life is fantastic. I think it's fun. I think it's great. And obviously this episode was written by Jon Favreau and was directed by Dallas Bryce Howard, who directed one of the episodes last season and did a great job with that one. She actually directed the episode where they were at that little village and the AT-AT attacks with the red eyes and all that coming through the forest. That was a fantastic visual.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's that's where we're at right now.
Those things are terrifying.
With the red eyes too, I was like, damn, that's killer.
I mean, you gotta think what that does feel like to them. It's like even just having one of these walkers against, I guess you could even say a nomadic tribe of people. Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You can't do anything about that. I know we saw the Ewoks. I mean, I don't know. Was that for the kids or was that just? I mean, whatever. I don't look. I used to love that movie, and then I don't know. As I got a little older, I'm kind of like, I don't know. That was a little weird. Empire is always, I will always say, is amazing, but Return of the Jedi was just always my favorite for some reason. But then I don't know. I kind of just take the Ewok thing with a grain of salt. Whatever.
Yeah, it was what it was. The whole last movie was good, but whatever. It was what it was. But that's pretty much where we're at right now. So now it looks like the Mandalorian is on his way to the forest planet of Corvus to find Ashoka Tano in the city of Caladan, and we're finally going to see a real Jedi in the Mandalorian, it seems. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So episode 4 of season 2 drops tomorrow. We'll be doing a review at some point in the week afterwards. I don't know if Thursday is going to be the usual day for the reviews. I kind of want to get them done sooner, but you know, time is what it is.
Well, life happened. Shit happened.
Life happens.
You know.
Life happens. But yeah, we will definitely be back in the next few days to do another review of episode 4, and who knows what we're going to see. Hopefully, we'll be back here talking about seeing Rosario Dawson take the screen as Ashoka Tano and everything that's going to bring into the Mandalorian TV series.
So excited for that.
Me too. I'm very excited. But anyway, say goodbye to everybody, Jeremy.
Goodbye, everybody, Jeremy.
You can find him and all his social media stuff in the description below, like always. And until next time, may the Force be with you.
You know the name.